Jungle Beats. It's a hot nigga. Like they say it's when I shot niggas. Like they say you twirl, then they drop nigga. They say it's on the block nigga. They say drop nigga. They say hot nigga. They say nice nigga. They say shot nigga. They say fast till I pass out. They say neck till I pass out. I swear to God, all I do is cash out. And if you ain't no hoe, get up on my trap house. I saw sexy pictures like it's 5th grade. They had to shit made.
Don't you stop the traffic. Look at him. The traffic. He can't go on down to ride a bike. You want to be taking niggas on bike? None of these niggas body cameras on. He's a major dick rider right here. Major dick rider. Major dick rider right here. Dick ass nigga don't know how to ride a bike. He gonna bust his head. He gonna bust his head. Oh! That's what he got it. Look, stupid. Oh, shit. Look at him, stupid. Look at him, stupid. Stupid tight. Stupid. Y'all tight now. Y'all tight now. What? You tight now. What? Y'all niggas tight. He's mad. Look, he's mad. Look at his face. Look at his face. Look, he want to touch my mans. Look. What you doing? Look at it. He want to touch my mans. He want to touch my mans.
Yo, what you doing?
Yo, go ahead. Let him touch him. Let him touch him. I got his badge number. My man go to the store. He can't walk to the store. I got your badge. He go to the store. He can go to the store. He go to the store. What's wrong with y'all niggas, son? He's bugging. They want to take niggas' bike. Someone's even riding it. This dumbass was for a bust his ass. He is tight, look at it. He's so sick. Look at him. You want to try him? You want to try him? Look at him. Look at him.
Umbrella. She's up.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. So in Tennessee, a 25-year-old brother, Daniel Hambrick, was shot in the back multiple times by Nashville police, including once in the back of the head. So let's see how somebody could possibly get shot in the back of the head by the police.
We begin with that breaking news tonight, an emotional evening. New video released of an officer-involved shooting that took the life of Daniel Hambrick.
Did Officer Andrew Delke have to fire his weapon? That's the question many in the community are asking themselves after seeing this graphic video. Today, Mayor David Briley said the video shows a need for a more sweeping overhaul of how Metro Police use force. Now, we do have team coverage of today's developments. We begin with Chris Conti, who's taking a closer look at that surveillance video. Chris.
Well, Vicki, first we need to mention this. We realize this video is graphic, but we have made an editorial decision to show it unedited so that you can see the situation as it unfolded with your own eyes. Mayor David Briley today neither condemned nor condoned Officer Delke's decision to shoot and kill Daniel Hambrick, but others had a much stronger, critical reaction. The date is July 26th. Until the moment it happened, neither Daniel Hambrick nor Officer Andrew Delke had met, but their lives crossed in fatal fashion at the corners of 17th and Joe Johnson Boulevard. Officer Delke had been searching for a stolen car. At some point, Daniel Hambrick pulls into MDHA housing, then takes off. We see the two men round a corner, both 25 years old, both sprinting full speed. Then Officer Delke stops, plants both his feet firmly in the ground, and we see him fire. Hambrick is hit and falls. It's still unclear how many rounds were fired, but they were fatal. As the minutes tick by, more Metro Police officers begin surrounding the area.
And I haven't made any judgment either. That's not my role.
My role is to make sure that on the front end, we are doing the absolute best we can as a community when it comes to policing.
Before the media today, Mayor David Briley said he had seen the video, but did not react much further than that.
We believe it was important for the district attorney to release this video today to promote transparency in this investigation.
But in your mind, someone who is running away from police shouldn't be shot.
When they're not a threat to, that's what we're looking at.
Harold Love is a state representative from Nashville.
It's very disturbing to me.
Was he running away?
Yes.
So he was shot in the back.
Yeah.
For Representative Love, the deeper issue here, he says, is race. Would this be different if both people involved were white or if both people involved were black?
I think there's a conversation that we need to have in Nashville about that, right? About how, again, as I've said time and time, how do we police communities of color?
12.5 seconds in time, a crucial piece of video showing one fatal interaction, leaving some to question an officer's decision. The TBI is solely in charge of this investigation, but they released this video today because they said it wouldn't impact their investigation. Officer Delke is on desk duty right now. He was not equipped with a body camera at the time of this shooting. Worth mentioning that neither the chief of police nor the district attorney were at today's news conference.
So the Nashville police officer, Andrew Delke, who was also 25 years old, said he was riding around looking for stolen cars when he tried to pull over Daniel Hambrick. Now, most likely he wasn't in a stolen car because that's the first thing they would have said. Even if they only believed the car was stolen, they would have reported it like it was stolen. So I can only assume that the car wasn't stolen. But the police said they spotted that same car driving erratically earlier. So I guess he just decided to pull him over later. But when they pulled him over, the brother Daniel Hambrick got out and ran. Now, shockingly enough, the cop Andrew Delke forgot to turn on his body camera, and he didn't have any video evidence of what was happening. But he didn't realize there were security cameras recording everything. And the school security camera, which means they were in the school zone, shows the brother Daniel Hambrick running, sprinting in the opposite direction, completely facing away from the cops. And the cop, Andrew Delke, stops, aims his gun, and then fires several times, hitting him in the back, including the back of the head, and then continues to stand back and point the gun at him until his backup comes. A TBI spokesman, the people who are supposed to be doing the investigation, said the brother Daniel Hambrick was carrying a dark object. Now, I don't know if he meant his skin, but he said it's unclear if it was a gun. The police did say they found a gun at the scene, and that was one of the first things they tweeted out. But the police said they were unclear if it was even his. Notice with the media, they made sure to say they found a gun, but they never really said it was his because it's unclear if it was his. Now, of course, the mayor, David Briley, comes out and calls for peace after they committed murder. And he says he wants a review, and I don't know how many reviews the police can get or how many training courses it takes. But this mayor didn't want to choose sides. He tried to stay neutral. But the police and the FOP president, James Smallwood, already have their capes on, despite the fact that they're supposed to be investigating.
Mark Strassman is in Nashville, where a memorial is forming for the victim. So, Mark, explain to us what the response was on the ground once the video came out.
Well, Emery, I'm standing next to the spot where Daniel Hambrick fell fatally wounded. Once the surveillance tape came out, of course, the police and the mayor were very worried about what the potential community reaction might be. They were concerned that perhaps there would be a similar response that we've seen around the country in some of these moments that have become known as the Black Lives Matter movement. But so far, I can tell you it's been very calm here. It's been very calm all morning since we've been here. And that is the good news, that people are processing what has happened. But they are, in many cases, not happy. They're demanding answers. They want to know more about what was the justification for the police officer shooting the suspect, and there are probably going to be a number of investigations that go forward in the days and weeks ahead trying to answer those questions.
So the police union, the president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Nashville, responded to the release of the video yesterday. Let's just play what he had to say, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Police officers are commonly expected to exceed the limits of human performance It is well known that an armed suspect facing away from an officer can fire at the officer by twisting his body around, reaching across his body and firing over his shoulder or under his arm, or simply by swinging his arm backward and firing the weapon upside down. All of these actions can take place in the blink of an eye, and no human being on this earth can react in time to prevent himself from being shot. Any insinuation that police officers need more accountability as a result of this incident completely ignores the actions of Mr. Hambrick, his refusal to comply with lawful orders from the police officer.
Okay, it sounds like the president of the union there is pretty much defending the actions of the police officer. You said that, you know, in the community right now, it seems like people are sort of taking a subdued approach to reacting to this video. But how do you expect those comments will play with the investigation and with the trust of the community?
Well, I think the short answer, Emery, is it depends who you talk to. I've had people in this neighborhood come up to me and say there was no excuse for shooting him. He was running away. There was no threat to the officer. At the same time, a guy drove by and said if he, meaning Hambrick, hadn't stolen somebody else's stuff, this never would have happened. There's going to be a couple of different responses to this. I think what matters most to everybody is that there be transparency and accountability. One of the issues is that the only apparent video of what happened is that surveillance tape that we all just saw. The officer was not wearing a body camera. His cruiser did not have a dashboard camera. That, of course, is unhelpful as we try to figure out, okay, what exactly happened and was the officer justified in shooting the suspect?
So the FOP president, James Smallwood, said, "Don't blame the cop. It's not the cop's fault. Blame this brother for not complying like a good nigga supposed to." He said the cop was in danger because he could have swung his arm backwards and shot the gun upside down. Like my brother was about to turn into the equalizer or something. But it's justified because there was a gun that was unclear from the video that he even had. And even though they're unclear if the gun they showed was even his, but then they bring up his history and the nonviolent drug offenses. Meanwhile, they don't say anything about this cop, Andrew Delke. This rookie cop who's only been a cop for a year and a half was assigned to the Juvenile Crime Task Force, even though they mostly arrest adults, black males to be specific. He was praised for making arrests nightly and being proactive throughout his whole shift. He was even nominated for Officer of the Month. But when this rookie cop shoots somebody, they didn't even give him a paid vacation. They didn't fire him or suspend him. They just put him on desk duty until they finish investigating themselves.
Making this video public has ignited a firestorm of emotions throughout the community and from those who were closest to Hambrick. They knew him as Dan Dan.
Now, News Channel 5 Jonquil Newland sat down with one of his closest friends and musical partners. And Jonquil, what is his message?
Yeah, good evening. Quintel Hudson grew up with Hambrick, and just as Hambrick's family members voiced earlier this afternoon, all anyone wants is justice for Dan Dan. Tears do not do justice to show the emotions held inside this room as Daniel Hambrick's family spoke out about the most recent video of his shooting death.
The police officer fired 4 times. 3 of those bullets ripped Daniel apart.
My daughter is now thinking that the police is the enemy.
That's a sentiment that is spreading throughout the black community.
The police took a good person away.
Quintel Hudson grew up with Hambrick and was a part of the rap group. He believes this recent video evidence proves what so many in the community already believe. The bridge between officers and this neighborhood has been broken.
I don't know how that bridge would be fixed, honestly.
He relived his pain today after watching the video of his best friend's last moments.
The police killed my brother, so it's like, I don't know what I want done. I don't know how I can change because it's the police who done it. It's like, I never trust the police.
Trust, a word Hambrick's family is leaning on as this investigation continues. Meanwhile, Hudson is also thinking of the man who took his friend's life.
I just want to say why he shoot him. If he didn't pose a threat, like, why he shoot him?
Now today, Hambrick's family and the NAACP called for Officer Andrew Delke to be fired and to be charged with murder. They're also calling on the FBI to conduct an entire review of the Metro Nashville Police Department, as well as a civil rights investigation.
Now, despite how much they're caping and trying to justify this murder, A United States Supreme Court ruled that the law that allowed the cops to shoot people in the back in Tennessee was unconstitutional. The United States Supreme Court said that a cop shooting somebody in the back while they're running away is a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights. Now, I know America has never respected our constitutional rights, but the Supreme Court changed this law back in 1985 because of what happened to a young 15-year-old brother, Edward Garner, in the Tennessee versus Garner decision. In 1974 in Memphis, the police shot this young brother in the back of the head while he was climbing over the fence because he stole $10 out of a white woman's purse. The police said he shot him so he wouldn't get away. And the police justified themselves for shooting a 15-year-old kid in the back of the head over $10. But in 1985, they changed the law. They didn't go back and charge the cop or anything. They just changed the law. But even with the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter. They can say whatever they want to say. Whatever we see is a lie, and their story is the truth. It don't matter if it's 1974 or today. It's still the same results, and until we do what we gotta do, we're gonna continue to get the same results. At some point, we're gonna have to start responding with more urgency than they do and put aside our tribalisms, or else our blood will continue to be shed.
More than 1 week after a 25-year-old man was shot and killed by a Metro police officer, the investigation continues, and his family and friends continue to mourn his death. News Channel 5's Kimberly Davis was there as Daniel Hambrick's loved ones said their final goodbyes.
On the corner of Joe Johnston Avenue and 17th Avenue North is a painful memory for the loved ones of Daniel Hambrick. This is where he was shot and killed by a Metro police officer. And Saturday afternoon, his friends and family laid him to rest.
I won't complain.
Emotions ran high as loved ones said goodbye to a 25-year-old whose life was cut short, and some weren't quite ready to say goodbye to Daniel Hambrick. Hambrick was shot and killed by 25-year-old Metro police officer Andrew Delke last week. According to police, Hambrick got out of his car with a gun after being involved in a police chase. That's when Officer Delke opened fire.
This shall be the last time a distraught mother will have to sit through a funeral for a child that has been chased down like a rabbit and shot. Well, no, I can't say that because you only shoot a rabbit once.
Officials haven't released just how many times Hambrick was shot or where the fatal bullet struck him. But the message was very clear. Not only does the family believe the shooting was unjustified, but the black-on-black violence must come to an end.
That no parent has to lose a son or a child to neighbor-on-neighbor violence.
All the pain.
Kimberly Davis, News Channel 5.
Ministers also prayed over Hambrick's friends who came to the funeral in hopes of making them a positive influence in Nashville.
Cincinnati officer is in the hot seat. His actions during an off-duty detail are coming under the scrutiny of police leadership and the mother of an 11-year-old who was stunned with a taser.
Now, that girl's accused of shoplifting. 9 on Your Side anchor Julie O'Neill is live at police headquarters with reaction from the girl's mother and from city leadership. Julie?
Tanya, CPD Chief Elliot Isaac extremely concerned, in his words, of the tasing of this 11-year-old girl. The Fraternal Order of Police president reminding us she was a juvenile suspect. Whatever you want to call her, the woman who calls this girl daughter is calling for change.
She was tased right there.
As Donna Gowdy shows us, there's just a small mark on her daughter's back from the barb of a taser shot. But this video gives you a sense of how powerful the taser is in order to take down a suspect.
2 rounds don't make a right. And though she did wrong, he didn't have to do all that.
Her daughter charged with theft and obstruction after police say she ran out of this Kroger in Spring Grove Village with a backpack full of stolen food. Police say the off-duty Cincinnati police officer warned her, then stunned her.
She didn't have nothing on her but a bag for the goodies.
The seriousness of the crime is one consideration policy requires in the use of tasers, along with whether the suspect poses a substantial threat to the safety of the officer or public, and whether the suspect is resisting arrest or fleeing.
If only one of those three circumstances apply, and the other two caution us not to do anything physical, then that may be a situation where discipline's appropriate.
Civil rights attorney Al Gerritstein helped develop the policy.
Every case has to be looked at individually, but in a situation like this, you should be cautious before you use such force on a child.
We're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. The officer is no longer allowed to work a detail. He's no longer allowed to work the street without an investigation being completed. That's knee-jerk.
FOP President Dan Hills says an investigation may find the taser was the safer option over the officer putting his hands on the juvenile suspect.
This juvenile suspect's arm would have got broken. What would be the reaction then?
Kroger told us today it is saddened by this situation. The company says, quote, while this was an isolated situation, we share Police Chief Isaac's extreme concern and appreciate the Cincinnati Police Department's response.
An 11-year-old girl tased by an Ohio officer after allegedly stealing from a grocery store. Liza Lucas is following this story from The Bridge. 11 years old, Liza?
11 years old, and a lot of you talking about it. We're going to get into some comments in a minute, but as we break it down, we want to turn you over to our live poll this morning about whether age should matter when it comes to tasing. Head over to 11alive.com/vote or use our app to weigh in as we break it down. Now, police say that off-duty officer was working security at the Ohio Kroger store, and he was investigating a group of girls for allegedly stealing. When he approached the 11-year-old, she ignored him, walked away, and that's when he used the taser. Now, she was arrested and taken to the hospital for evaluation, then released to her parents. Police are now investigating all of this, and a lot of you talking about it online. Andre, on one side, saying she allegedly committed a crime. She was over the age of 7, under the age of 70, which is Cincinnati's department policy, and decided to walk away when a police officer told her to stop. All legal grounds. What was he supposed to do? And a lot of you agree with him. Jackie saying maybe now she will think twice about stealing. Lessons learned the hard way. However, Christine and others on 11 Alive Facebook taking a totally different stance, saying, I don't care what the kid did. It's a kid. You don't tase kids. And Cincinnati police did release a statement saying that they're going to be reviewing their tasing policy, and this is all under investigation.
You know, it is rare for local police officers to use tasers on children. I-Team Chief Investigative Reporter Craig Cheatham joins us now from the newsroom with a look at some of those cases. Craig.
Tanya, the 9 on Your Side I-Team has examined hundreds of local taser incidents involving police officers in recent years. Our investigation found it's extremely rare for police to tase children. We focus on 2 cases. February of last year at a skating rink in Coleraine Township, a 12-year-old girl sits in a booth and isn't wearing skates as required by the rink. The manager said she gave him attitude, so he asked an off-duty deputy who worked security to escort her off the property. According to sheriff's records, the girl refused, then resisted a deputy and a second officer, striking one deputy twice on the side of his face. After the off-duty deputies took her to the ground and after warning that she might get tased, one of the deputies tased her on her thigh. The sheriff's office took pictures of a cut on her head and photos of the 2 deputies who did not have visible injuries. The internal investigation reviewed skating rink surveillance video of the incident and determined that the deputies followed use of force policy. In January of this year, Cincinnati police tased a girl who had just turned 16. According to CPD records, the girl had a missing runaway warrant. Officers found the girl in an apartment. She refused to leave a bathroom. The officers say her wrist was bleeding and ordered her to not reach for scissors on the floor. She did it anyway, so an officer tased her for 9 seconds. She still refused to cooperate, so he tased her a second and a third time. The investigation reviewed body camera video and found the officers followed the CPD use of force policy, even though the CPD supervisor determined the bathroom was too confined to allow the proper target for the taser. The I-Team requested comment from the sheriff's office and the Cincinnati PD, but they did not provide one. Some police departments don't have policies that address the use of tasers on children, but in general, officers are discouraged from using them on frail adults and younger children.
You can't fire her. You can't fire her because we're not in the store. You feel me? You called us in the store. You called us in the store to talk to us about not coming in the store. You feel me? We weren't coming in the store in the first place. You feel me? So you can't fire her for us coming in the store because you called us in the store and here to come talk to us. You feel me? Now, yeah, like all that. You see, you hear all that.
Right now, I'm finna slap the goddamn phone out of your hand.
Get my phone. Get my phone.
Get your hands off.
Get my phone.
Get up, man.
Fucking phone down there.
I need assistance tonight. She did that for a reason. She did that for a reason. She did that for a reason. Come on, let's
She
go.
just threw my
name
phone.
is April Epperson. I'm fixing to
feel
throw
me?
it again. Get out
She
of
trying
my
to put her
store.
hands on me.
Get out of my store.
To put her hands on me. You feel me? They can both.
Get out of my store.
I can both
The police are on their
physically
way.
assault them right now. You feel me? And it'll be self-defense because they both put their hands on me. You feel me? They both put their hands on me. This ain't your store. You don't work here. You can't escort me out of shit. You not security. You not hired for no security or none of that. You feel me? You called us in here.
You going
You called us
I called you in here to have an adult conversation with you.
Exactly.
To stay
And I told
out
you
of my
I would
store
stay out of your
because
store,
it's
right?
not a damn rest
Didn't I tell
area.
you I would stay out of here?
Have a good day.
And you just
Have
wanted
a
to
good
fire her
day.
anyway.
Hey, no, I didn't. I
Right.
gave her a goddamn
You
chance
feel
after
me?
waiting
Yeah.
2 months to
Yeah,
get her
wait
in
up.
here.
Yeah, it been
And
too long.
y'all
It been too
ruined
long.
You an
It been too long, motherfucker.
I don't give a shit. They
You
know
feel
it
me?
too.
Yeah. You gon' and look, you all on camera. You on camera. That shit dead. That shit dead. You feel me?
Get out of my goddamn store.
See, you put your hand, bitch. You put your motherfucking hands on me no more. What you want to do? What you want to do?
No, well,
What
come
you want
on.
to do?
Fucking nigga.
She put her hands on me. What you want to do? Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, dear. Go. Punch
Yeah.
my
You heard? Fucking nigger. Yeah, all that. I got y'all on camera, stupid motherfuckers. You fired.
Smoking dope.
You fired.
I can prove it. I can
You fired. You put your hand, bitch. You put your hands on me no more.
A heated confrontation at the Subway store on Valley Avenue in Birmingham, and the video later shows this same manager using the N-word. Earlier today, we heard from the man shooting that video. New tonight, you're going to hear from the manager you see sitting down with us to tell her side of the story. To our Josh Gant. Josh.
Yeah, Jonathan, April Epperson claims she used the wrong choice of words that cost her a job, and she's now apologizing.
When that word came out, is that a word you use often?
No. Matter, I hate that word.
April Epperson, the former manager of the Subway on Valley Avenue, now telling her side of what she says took place that led up to this heated confrontation caught on video between Antoine Clark and his sister, who was working her first day at the store. Clark says he came to see his sister when Epperson called him inside and told him he needs to get off the property when his sister is working.
She's in training, and while she's here, she doesn't need a distraction that I'm going to need them to, get away from the property or step off of the property while she's at work.
Clark disagreed and says Epperson fired his sister on the spot. Things eventually got even more heated. Ultimately, Clark is forced out of the door, and that's when you hear Epperson use the N-word. She says she felt threatened at the time.
He punched me in my face. I pushed him out the door because that was the only thing I knew to do. I felt like I was in danger. I pushed him out the door. He punches me in my face. And as soon as I shut the door, the only thing that came out of my mouth was and I'm sorry. But it could have been a Mexican standing there. It popped out of my mouth. That's what that Mexican would have got called. That white person would have got called that too.
Epperson was fired Thursday because of what took place. She claimed she used the wrong choice of words that day.
I said the wrong word. I'm sorry for it. I'm taking my punishment, and I'm walking away from it. I get that. I screwed up. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. But I can't handle being called racist on national television over a slip-up.
Epperson says she did not fire Clark's sister on the spot. She apologized several times. She said she